Hi, I'm Borinelli-Franzoi, a medical oncologist and researcher at Gustave Roussy, Villejuif, France.
Hi, I'm Dario Trapani. I'm a medical oncologist from Milan, presently at the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute in Boston.
And we're going to talk about the new ESMO framework for de-intensification of systemic cancer-related treatments.
So the project really came about patients, and it's really about patients' needs, how we can deliver the best sized treatments and tailor the treatments overall to patient-specific characteristics, patient's choice, and tumor characteristics and biology. In particular, the discussion about how we can deliver the treatment de-escalation or modulation was brought on the table by the patients themselves, because of course we want to inform and develop the best methodology on how to shape the treatments and how to best deliver care in a patient-centric manner.
We had the privilege to work with a large panel of experts in the field. The idea was to gather several stakeholders involved in the research and in the process of implementing de-escalation strategies. So we had medical oncologists, surgeons, we had biostatisticians, we had patient representatives, and all this group came together in order to gather all the literature around the topic and provide clear recommendations.
The methodology of this framework was really based on intense literature research, and in particular we scanned the horizon of ongoing clinical trials and previous efforts in the treatment de-escalation. We reviewed a large amount of literature about previous clinical trials on treatment de-intensification and modulation and derived a set of recommendations on how we think de-escalation should be pursued according to the clinical trial design and the specific endpoints that the consensus recommended to derive this kind of research.
So the first thing is that the terminology de-escalation is not very well perceived by patients because they can have an impression of being undertreated. So when we communicate about such approaches to patients, we should specify, perhaps use words personalization or treatment modulation, because the idea is to communicate that we are trying to find the right amount of treatment for each patient in order to reduce toxicity, improve quality of life, but first of all, putting patient safety in the first place. Also, for researchers designing new trials about de-escalation treatment modulation strategies, it is important to involve the patient in all the co-creation process, because only the patient is in the best place to answer what's an acceptable trade-off, what is an important clinical outcome. And a less important point is really to be clear when we are proposing de-intensification strategies based in low level of evidence, so the patient can be involved in the shared decision making. The first recommendation that we gave was a definition of treatment de-escalation that is not only giving less treatment, but it's giving less treatment, but also improving important outcomes and giving it safely. So we define it as shorter duration of treatment or omission of treatment while providing comparable important outcomes and proving to decrease treatment-related toxicity or improve quality of life or reduce healthcare system burden.
So the second greatest achievement of this framework is that we defined a classification system to understand what is the underlying level of evidence supporting the decision that we make in terms of treatment de-intensification. So we developed a three-tiered approach. Tier A is the highest level of evidence. It is randomized, controlled, prospective clinical trials with a design of non-inferiority. It is actually with a high burden, financial, patients, and a lot of time to do that. So it's the highest quality in terms of methodology, but also the most challenging to deliver. Second, we have Tier B, that is about prospective clinical trials in a single cohort, no randomized manner, for which we do believe that is an appropriate clinical trial design for very selected patients with very good outcomes, in which we believe the less treatments is appropriate. And the third is about the lowest level of evidence that still can be used to support treatment de-intensification, that is the retrospective high-quality review of prospective clinical trials. And the consensus said that we need to have at least 2 or more of these cohorts, otherwise it's not enough evidence to support clinical recommendations.
Our recommendations are published in Annals of Oncology.
So the recommendations are intended to address multiple stakeholders. It's not only clinicians, but it's really broadly the clinical trialists and also regulators. Because we are making a classification about the level of evidence with a strong definition, a univocal definition of treatment de-intensification, we do believe the framework has a broad application. For the patient perspective and the clinician perspective, we do believe the application is to inform the shared decision-making. For the trialist is to know how to develop in the best manner these kind of trials. And from the regulator's perspective is about making reimbursement decisions, uptake and coverage according to the level of evidence.